is a presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
Sun is shining here in downtown Cincinnati as Star Wars weekend continues. Tonight, the X-Wing Fighter bobblehead giveaway. It's also the third game of this series, the Reds and the Brewers, here on Fox Sports Ohio. And hi, everyone, along with Chris Welsh and Jim Day, I'm Jim Kelch, and welcome once again to Cincinnati Reds baseball. Reds go tonight for their fourth consecutive win, their third in a row if they can get it over this Milwaukee club. And Chris, if you like offense, the last 3 days have been big for this Reds team.
Well, you know, teams get streaky. Their offenses get fire, then they get cold, and then they get hot again. Well, they're hot right now, I can tell you right now. And Brandon Phillips is extremely hot. Kozar continues mashing the baseball the way he does all year long. Adam Duvall hitting the long ball, Bruce joining in. It's really been a parade of home run balls the way the Reds have laid it out there. They're not playing small ball, folks. They're hitting the ball into the seats.
Yeah, Phillips hit his third home run in 3 days last night. Duvall had just done it, so the offense is going strong right now for Brian Price's club. Meanwhile, the pitching matchup for tonight's game features a left-hander, Brandon Finnegan, for the Reds against the right-hander, Jimmy Nelson. And in Finnegan's case, he has been, as we've said before, the most consistent starter Brian has been able to put out there.
He's pretty much a guy that you can count on giving you 6 innings. He may give up 3 runs, but that's sometimes not even a given. He's a hard thrower, and he's a hard-working guy. You're going to see a total effort pitcher out there with Finnegan. He's throwing his changeup a little bit more this year. We'll tell you about that during the game. His slider's a little bit faster in velocity, and that may account for one reason for his success. But he really is one of the most consistent starters Brian Price has.
Now, Jimmy Nelson of the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, the starters for the Brewers have not been good, but Nelson has been.
Well, he's given the Brewers the best chance of winning a ball game. And you talk to any Brewer people tonight, and they will tell you the same thing. 6 starts, he's won 4 games and 6 decisions. He's a guy that throws extremely hard, has a slider and a curveball, but he throws no changeup. So he really doesn't need one, but he throws that hard. So big Jimmy Nelson and Brandon Finnegan, lefty-righty matchup tonight.
All right, that's what we have tonight. Game 3 of this 4-game series here at GABP, Reds and the Milwaukee Brewers. We'll take a break. When we come back, together again, Joey Votto, Brandon Phillips, Jim Day will explain.
Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good? It's Skyline time.
Good evening. I'm meteorologist Scott Dimick. Showers and thunderstorms will be isolated at best around GABP at first pitch, with temperatures between 70 and 75 degrees. But with a drying air mass in place and some partial clearing, temperatures are down into the low and mid 60s by the final out. Enjoy the game on Fox Sports Ohio.
I'm Jim Day. You know, in today's baseball, it's hard to keep teams together, and particularly right side of an infield. But the Reds fans have been blessed with Joey Votto and Brandon Phillips seemingly out there every day and night playing together. You check out our Elk and Elk storylines, and tonight will be their 1,000th start on the right side of the infield. That is not only the most in Reds history, but it's the longest active streak in Major League Baseball and the 8th longest streak of its kind in Major League Baseball history. Last night, this tandem, well, they were in tandem because they were going, yeah. Joey Votto cranked one out to center field. And Brandon Phillips has a homer not only one, not only two, but 3 straight games when he curled one into left field that stayed fair. And now we've grown to see that these guys, Votto might be coming out of his shell because the jumping celebration. Check out our Fox Vision. Votto, 3.1 feet of vertical, measuring it from the knees. Now, what about Phillips from the other side? We'll look and we'll see Brandon just slightly more ups. 3.6 feet distance. Coming up during the game, we'll hear from both on their 1,000th game together and that little jumping celebration. Reds going after a series victory. Their 3rd straight victory over the Brewers and their 4th straight overall. Jim Kelch and Chris Welsh are next.
Of the year, takes them on, leads the Reds out onto the field here this evening at Great American Ballpark. Take a look at the Milwaukee starting lineup, presented by Craig Counsell. Presley in the leadoff spot, then Perez. That's Hernan Perez making his first start of the series, and then Ryan Braun. Jonathan Lucroy, Chris Carter, and Aaron Hill. Bottom 3, Ramon Flores, Yadiel Rivera, and Jimmy Nelson. And on the mound, as we mentioned, for the Reds, 23-year-old Brandon Finnegan.
Well, Brandon Finnegan is a guy that wishes he could be in a 3-man rotation because he wants the ball as much as anybody I've ever been around. He really is excited about being a major leaguer, and he's given the Reds some really glimpses into what he can do as far as no-hitting the Cubs through 6 innings or so, having the same type of effect against a couple of other ball clubs. The bullpen has been his downfall, really, as far as the win losses go. But fastball, slider, fastballs mostly two-seamers, change-ups, and curveballs for Finnegan.
You got Alex Perez, who steps in there to lead things off. Game 3 of this 4-game series, 31st game of the season for the Reds. And the first pitch inside, ball 1. We are underway. 73 degrees here at Great American Ballpark on this Saturday night as we get started. Presley at .310 with 3 home runs and 8 RBIs. He has homered in the last 2 games, and he'll pop this one up to third. Suarez will handle it. A good start for Finnegan and the Reds. Take a look at the Reds defensively behind Finnegan, brought to you by your Ford dealers. They line up as follows. Duvall, Hamilton, Bruce across the outfield. Suarez, Cozart, Phillips, Votto, third to first, a battery of Barnhart and Finnegan. And those 8, really, that is the everyday lineup right now for the Reds. And figures to be for the foreseeable future. Here's Hernan Perez. He's playing third base, starting over there for only the 2nd time this year. Hitting .357, although he does not have a ton of at-bats so far this year for Perez, only 14. He was called up from AAA when Scooter Gennett was placed on the disabled list, their everyday second baseman. To Cozart. And there are 2 out.
Well, in that at bat, that's a little something that you really like to see more of from Brandon Finnegan, which is throwing strikes. You know, in all of last year, when he pitched 48 innings for the Reds, he walked 21 batters. This year, he has pitched 34 innings, but he's walked 18 batters. So his control has gone south a little bit this year. But it hasn't hurt him in the long run. He's been able to make very good pitches when he needs to.
And they'll face Ryan Braun with 2 men out and nobody on. Brewers have gone down in order in the first inning in each of the first 2 games of this series. And Finnegan tries to make it happen one more time, and he will on a 1-hopper to Phillips. Braun out, so are the Brewers. Good first turned in for Brandon Finnegan. Nelson tonight for Cincinnati. It's Cozart, Hamilton, and Votto. Phillips, Bruce, and Suarez. Duvall, Barnhart, and Finnegan.
Now, the last time that Jimmy Nelson took the mound here at Great American Ballpark was last September, and it wasn't pretty for him. In fact, it was a day that was ruined by Brandon Phillips and Jay Bruce each hitting home runs. Phillips hit 1 in the 3rd, Bruce hit 1 in the 5th, and he was out of there after about 5 innings. But he does give the Brewers their best chance for a win when he takes them out. He's a very big guy, hard throwing right-hander, gets it up into mid-90s, no problem. Sharp slider and a good curveball. Unusually, he does not throw a changeup. That is a work in progress.
He comes in with an ERA of 3.05. He's the only pitcher in their rotation with an ERA of under 5. High and deep into left field. Braun near the wall, and Braun right there in front of the wall to make the catch. So that drive to get this game started in the Reds portion of things by Zach Kozar.
Yeah, remember when you're playing a Great American Ballpark, it's unusual in as much as the left field area is the sun field. So when the sun goes down, the sun is in the left fielder's eyes, not the right fielder's eyes. Only a couple of ballparks in baseball configured like that. Here, Pittsburgh are 2 in this division. But Braun battles the sun, the wall, and a deep drive by Kozar to get a first out.
1 pitch, 1 out for Jimmy Nelson. Now the batter, Billy Hamilton, and as you would figure, the corners move in. Perez at third, Carter at first. Billy at 205 with a homer. He's driven in 5. Talked about at the top of the broadcast, 21 runs the Reds have produced over the course of the last 3 games. And over the Giants, 2 wins over the Brewers, and so they've equaled now their longest winning streak of the season at 3. Started the year with 3 wins over Philly. Their 3 wins now put them at 13-17 on the year. Game and a half ahead of this Milwaukee club, and only 2 games right now behind St. Louis for 3rd place. Hamilton now get a look at a 3-1 pitch. He's had a decent amount of success against Nelson. Lifetime 3 hits, 9 at bats. Trying to get on here in the Reds first. And there is ball 4. Take a look at Milwaukee defensively behind Jimmy Nelson, brought to you by your Ford dealers. And Braun in left. Ramon Flores getting the start in center field tonight. Presley back in right. Hernan Perez at third. Rivera at short. Hill and Carter the right side. Nelson and Lucroy the infield. So some different players out there tonight for Milwaukee that we have not seen the first couple of games of the series. We thought we were going to see Domingo Santana out in right field. In fact, he was in the original starting lineup, but that sore right shoulder still giving him a problem. Came out, warmed up, wasn't feeling it, and is scratched from the game tonight, at least at the beginning.
Well, you know, many people have called Billy Hamilton a game changer, and it is certainly true because the numbers bear it out this year. When Billy is on base and has a chance to steal second base, the Reds are hitting .571 as a team. They're slugging .600, so everybody loves it when Billy is on. And the reason for that is twofold, really. One, the batters that come up after Billy, or after Hamilton is on first base, see more fastballs because the catcher and pitcher don't want him to steal second base. And secondly, he distracts the pitcher enough that he ends up making mistakes that he may not normally make with nobody on. .571 as a team with him on base and ready to steal.
He's off and running there. He got a great jump. The throw is wide and a stolen base for Billy. 6 for 6 this year for Hamilton. And Lucroy recovered pretty quickly though, didn't he? Wow.
Well, you can see he's got about 5 steps before Lucroy even has the ball, even if the ball is right on the money. Nelson never really makes him stop. He's thrown over a couple of times, so he's already shown Billy his best move, and it's just not good enough.
So runner in scoring position now for Joey Votto. this year at a very impressive 368 in these situations. Runner at second with one man out. Brandon Phillips waits on deck. Hey, by the way, we have an update. We're going to get it after Votto hopefully bats regarding the umpire situation. Remember late last night in the game in the 9th inning, Eric Cooper looked like he injured himself at first base. He's not working tonight. Jim Day will have an update here in a moment. Up and in, and it's 1 ball now and 2 strikes to Votto, hitting .230. 4 home runs. He's driven in 16. He and Votto both homer in last night's game, so 9 home runs in the last 3 games for the Reds. Billy taking off to third, but time had been called by the home plate umpire, Jim Wolf. Back to second goes Billy. Red scored in the first inning of the first game of this series on Thursday. In fact, they 5. Scored a run in the first inning last night, trying to do the same here tonight.
Well, again, you know, maybe the threat of a stolen base can be more effective than the actual stolen base, although you'd love to see Billy Hamilton get to third base while Votto's at the plate and with just 1 out.
Good evidence of that was with Johnny Cueto the other day. Billy at second base. The Reds atop stolen bases. Milwaukee atop the category of caught stealing their opponents. Big hole where the shortstop would be. Hamilton takes off and Votto fouls it away. They have the shortstop Rivera almost right behind Billy Hamilton out there.
Well, they're doing whatever they can, and it's just simply not going to be enough. But this is really nothing new for Jimmy Nelson. He gave up a lot of stolen bases last year, 24 to be exact. They only threw out 6. So sometimes big guys like Nelson, who is 6 feet 6 inches tall and more than 250 pounds, you know, if they can't be compact to the plate, then throw hard and don't worry about the runner.
Been on a real tear lately in terms of getting on base. Remember, he went through that long stretch, a career worst 0 for 19 drought in terms of hitting. Since then, he has reached base at a .474 clip, including reaching base in 13 straight games heading into tonight. Oh, he takes strike 3. Joey disagrees with the call of Jim Wolf, but he is out number 2.
Well, the hollow of the knees, which is right below the kneecap, is where you're going to measure that being a ball or a strike. And when we show you that Fox box, anything that touches the corner of that strike zone is, according to the Fox box, a strike. But you know, part of it was a great sales job there by Luke Croy. Didn't move his mitt, held it right there for an extra moment. You know, when it comes to getting those marginal pitches called balls or strikes, the ability of a catcher being able to frame that pitch is so important. And really just recently has it been able to track that by teams. It's one of those things that in the analytics department, a lot of people are taking a look at, the ability of certain catchers to frame.
Here's Phillips now. He's homered in each of the last 3 games. Finale against the Giants. First 2 here against Milwaukee. He's done it in order, too. He had a solo home run on Wednesday, a 2-run homer Thursday, and a 3-run homer last night. There goes Billy. Nobody covering third. Ball into left. Hamilton will score, and the Reds take a 1-0 lead. Boy, oh boy, you got to wonder what Hernan Perez was thinking down there. He didn't budge as Lucroy came up firing. Nobody on the base.
Well, you really don't know now who's at fault right there, because why would you leave your base at third base in order to cover third? And perhaps if Brandon Phillips, who's a pull hitter on the ground, hits that ball on the ground and hits it right where you just left. So I got to figure that there was just a signal cross-up right there. Usually on defense, a catcher knows usually if somebody's going to be covering or not, and that word may have come from the bench, but obviously he thought Perez would be there, and Perez was not.
You know, when you looked at that throw, the throw was dead on the base.
Well, I mean, that's why they're first in the league.
So 1-0 Reds lead. Hamilton gets the steal of second. Now he gets the steal of third. And the air allows him to come home. There's that weapon, speed again. Air goes on the throw by Lucroy.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of situations where the defense doesn't even cover third base on that. Once you get to 2 outs.
Phillips in the air and fouled toward third, and Perez will come back fair, and he'll make the catch to end the inning. But the Reds get a run. They lead 1-0 after 1. We look back at a couple of firsts in last night's game here in Milwaukee. How about Tim Adelman, his first career win? Tony Cingrani, his first career save. Last time the Reds had a first career win and save in the same game, you got to go back to 2004. Luke Hudson and Joe Valentine. Appropriate on this Star Wars night that Luke would be involved. Steel power tool performer of the night.
That may not be Tony Cingrani's last save, I can tell you that. They're looking for somebody to take over that 9th inning. He had the opportunity. He nailed it down. I wouldn't be surprised as soon as he's able to go back out there in the same situation or a similar situation. You'll see Brian go to him.
Lucroy leads things off here in the second. Carter and Hill to follow. Lucroy did not start last night's game. Did get in as an 8th inning pinch hitter, walked and then worked the last inning behind the plate. Hitting .308 with a homer. He's driven in 10. This has not been, you can see by that graphic, a friendly ballpark for Lucroy. Took over in 2011 as Milwaukee's everyday catcher. Cozart and Votto combine, and Lucroy is out. 4 up, 4 down so far by Brandon Finnegan. As you break things down sabermetrically, Chris, do you consider Finnegan a ground ball guy?
You know, I haven't really looked all that much at ground balls for Finnegan. He should be a ground ball guy, basically because he throws his two-seam fastball almost exclusively. He does throw a few four-seamers. But that pitch you see right there at 92 miles an hour with a little bit of action going away from right-handers, when he gets that down around the knees, there's a ton of action going on. And I think in the long run, if he's not a ground ball pitcher yet, he will be characterized as one eventually. His slider goes down. His changeup has a nice vertical drop on it as well.
He deals now with Chris Carter. Falls behind 2-0. Carter at 283. 10 long ones. He's driven in 22. 10 home runs. Tops on this Milwaukee team.
Perfect 2-0 pitch right there. Carter's looking for something to jam up there into the upper deck.
Very late on that one, and he's at 2-2. Aaron Hill waiting on deck. Solid contact by Carter and a base hit, and Milwaukee's first base runner comes them from their first baseman.
Well, the difference between that pitch where he got the base hit and the previous pitches are really where that ball is height-wise. That ball is about thigh high. The other pitches were, you know, a little bit lower. They were more outside. He's got a nice flat swing. Carter does. Plenty of power. Reds would like to get him out of town without him heating up that home run swing.
They had the home run here on Thursday in game 1 of the series, but yeah, they've been able to keep him down for the most part. 1 on 1 out now for Aaron Hill. Hill hit last night 1 for 4. He brings a 7-game hitting streak into this one. Overall at 224, a home run. He's driven in 8. Again, we mentioned it last night. He signed a 5-year deal with Arizona and was traded in the offseason. This is the final year of that deal. Out at short, and back to first is Carter. And it will be Ramon Flores. Before we do that, as promised earlier, let's go down to Jim Day with a report on last night's injured umpire. Jim?
Eric Cooper had to leave last night's game. He injured his tendon in his right foot. He's expected to miss 10 to 14 days. He was replaced tonight by Sean Barber. So even the umpires are not immune to this injury bug going around Great American Ballpark.
Thank you, Jimmy. Center fielder is Ramon Flores. He bats in the number 7 spot, starting for the first time in this series. to Phillips. There's the force out, and that's a 0 in the top of the second for the Milwaukee Brewers. The ballpark and enjoy live mascot races, face painters, games, and more. Plus, all kids 14 and younger get a Star Wars themed Fathead thanks to PNC Bank. For tickets, 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com. All part of Star Wars weekend. The poster last night, the Mr. Redlegs X-Wing fighter bobblehead tonight, Fathead tomorrow. Big crowd last night, another good gathering here tonight. Bruce leads it off in the bottom of the second. Reds pick up an unearned run in the first. Walk to Hamilton, steal of second, steal of third. Throw to third by Lucroy with nobody covering the bag, and Billy jumped up, scampered home. Bruce at 245, 5 home runs. He's driven in 21. Suarez to follow, then Duvall. Hammered toward right center by Bruce. That will get down. Get by the outfielder Presley. Go to the wall. There's Jay in the second with a leadoff two-base hit for Bruce's 6th double of the year. And the leadoff man on here in the bottom of number 2.
The one thing about Nelson is that he's had a difficult time with Jay Bruce just about every time he pitches against him. He's given up a couple of home runs to him. And he doesn't have a pitch that goes the other way, away from Jay Bruce. That's a fastball. Turns out to be about waist high by the time Bruce puts the wood to it. You know, when Nelson first got to the major leagues, he really didn't even have a curveball. All he had was a fastball. So he's developed his curveball to go along with a slider. Next in line, a changeup.
Here's Suarez.
Well, the guys who throw the most fastballs in the National League are on this list. Bartolo Colon, Kyle Hendricks of the Cubs, and then Jimmy Nelson. When you're up around 70% or higher in fastballs, and Colon is always up around over 85 to 90, you believe in that number 1. Nelson was actually drafted by the Reds out of high school. Ended up not signing. He ended up going to the University of Alabama. That's where the Brewers picked him, 2nd round, 2010.
It's amazing what a difference of 3 years will do. 39th round, second round. Hit him. Suarez hit by the pitch. He joins Bruce on the bases.
Yeah, those 3 years probably went from 6'2" and 170 to 6'5" and 250. And maybe put another inch on after that. Who knows? But that cannot feel good. 94-mile-an-hour fastball.
So the Reds, as they have early in each of the first 2 games of this series, put the pressure on Milwaukee. Thursday night scored 7 runs in the first 2. Last night, all 5 runs in the first 3 innings. Scored tonight in the first. 2 on, nobody out here in the second. Toward the hole, into left. That's a hit. Billy Hatcher will hold Jay Bruce at third as Braun gets to the ball quickly and gets it back in. And double hit batsman, a base hit. The Reds have him loaded with nobody out.
Well, the Reds are hitting the ball hard, but they're also getting a couple of breaks right here. They got a break and an unearned run. That ball finds a hole in that 5.5 spot between the third baseman and the shortstop. So a chance for Tucker Barnhart to make a good impression on a whole bunch of people that came out to the ball game tonight. It's a good crowd here for Saturday evening.
Barnhart has done very well this year with runners in scoring position. How about 6 for 11 this season? He's got him loaded with nobody out.
Brewers will give up a run in exchange for a double play ball. They've got their infielders playing back.
Now it's 2-0. He could get a good pitch to hit here. Reds, as a team, 5 for 10 this year with the bases loaded. You're wondering, they have 1 grand slam, that by Eugenio Suarez. To by Lucroy. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Pitcher on deck, Finnegan. No slouch up there. He goes up there hacking. Has an idea what he's doing. Reds trying to add to their 1-0 lead here in the bottom of number 2. Hill, Rivera, Carter, double play, a run will score. Bruce touches the plate. 2-0 Reds. No RBI for Barnhart. And the Brewers turn their first double play of the series.
Well, if you're the Brewers, you will gladly take that out of bases loaded, nobody out. You still have a runner at third now with 2. But with a pitcher coming up, you got to figure Craig Counsell's thinking this just about all but eliminates a huge inning that could really put them in the hole the way the Reds have done previously in this series.
Finnegan slaps that ball by the third baseman Perez and out into left field, and so he picks up the runner Suarez from third, and it is 3-0. Second RBI of the year for Finnegan.
Guy's a ball player, isn't he? I mean, he just goes right down there on the first pitch, says there it is. He drives in his second. He is the only Reds pitcher so far this year that has a hit.
He has 5 of them now. So the Reds get the run in the first. They've added 2 more so far here in the second, and here is Zach Cozart representing the top of the order. Talked about last night that if Cozart was able to get 4 plate appearances, which he did, he'd be in the top 10, and he is. At .341 at the start of the night, he is 6th in the league in hitting. About Thursday night, about the fact that Milwaukee's starters came into this series with the worst ERA in the big leagues at 6.04. Just going into tonight, they've given up 12 runs, 11 earned in 9 innings. That does not count what has happened so far tonight.
It's a nice view from the pilot house.
And a liner caught by Rivera puts an end to the Reds' second, but they tack 2 more on and lead 3-0 through 2.
Day, a milestone night on the right side of the infield. The 1,000th start. Brandon Phillips and Joey Votto alongside each other. It's the most in Reds history, 8th longest streak in MLB history. And we got Votto's reaction playing next to Dat Dude BP.
Our relationship has grown. You know, I care about his success and him as a person, his family, and that's the sort of thing that comes over 1,000 games. You know, and he's someone the fans get excited for. They love having him here. It was, you know, it was a little weird in the off season when he was about to go. I couldn't have imagined Brandon Phillips in another uniform.
And Votto talked about the spectacular plays that Phillips makes at second base, but he says he marvels more at the basic plays that he makes over and over and over again that he makes look easy. And Joey Votto mentioned it a little bit, and Phillips talked about it today as well. They have a closer friendship than people imagine, and it's good to see. And he's bringing him out of his shell as Phillips is Votto, and we'll talk about that coming up.
Well, all right. Yadiel Rivera, the shortstop of the Brewers, leads it off. We talked about Votto and Phillips being 8th all-time in Major League history in terms of first baseman, second baseman combinations. Steve Garvey and Davey Lopes are next on the list for them to pass. They're sitting at 1,038. Votto and Phillips sitting 1,000 tonight. They could move up as far as 5th place all-time history this year. Finnegan gets the out on Rivera, and that comebacker for out number 1. All-time record is Jeff Bagwell, Craig Biggio of the Astros at 15:06. These two could get all the way up to 4th and could surpass Mark Grace and Ryan Sandberg at 1,065 this year. Which, in terms of their contract, Phillips has another year. Votto has, what, 7 more years. He could move into 3rd all-time next year. There's strike 3, a 3-pitch strikeout of Nelson by Finnegan. His first strikeout of the night. MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, delivers everything you have come to expect and more. It also includes a free subscription to At Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions do apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. 2 out for Alex Presley. Well, Presley back-to-back nights in which he has homered here. Hit a home run, a 2-run shot in the 8th inning against Alfredo Simon on Thursday. That spelled the end of the night for Simon on Thursday. And then last night, a solo shot to start the 5th inning against Tim Adelman. Gets himself a hit here with 2 men out in the 3rd as Duvall gets over to cut that off. So Presley is aboard. Batter now would be Hernan Perez. Perez came to the Brewers middle of the season last year in early June. Claimed off waivers from the Tigers. Played in 90 games with the Brewers last year. Actually started this year at AAA.
When you say he came over from the Tigers, he was picked up by the Milwaukee Brewers off the waiver wire. But he's still only 25 years old, so he fits into that category of a possible part in the rebuilding process the Brewers are trying to put together. Back at the end of last year, he was granted his free agency and then re-signed with the Brewers. Brandon Finnegan trying to right himself here. He knows who's in the on deck circle, does not want to face Ryan Braun with 2 on. So he'll be hopefully peppering a couple of strikes here to Perez. You mentioned only the 2nd start of the year for Perez, but he made the most of his first start. Hit a couple of home runs. That was against the Angels when they played on Wednesday. Went 2 for 4 with a home run and 2 runs scored. So.
From 3-0 to 3-2. Runner from first base. Presley will be on the move. How about Finnegan this year, Chris? Really being able to handle right-handed hitters much better than he did a year ago.
Well, what he's doing a lot more of is changing speeds with the changeup rather than just fastball slider. It's made a big difference for him.
Overall, opponents hitting .203, but coming into this game, righties only 186. Hit hard. Hamilton there. Perez is out, and so are the Brewers. They leave a runner. Reds lead 3-0 in the middle of the third. Golf game by tuning in to the Golf Zone. PGA Pro Jimmy Hanlon has terrific tips to improve your game and talks about this weekend's tournament. Get inside the Golf Zone with Jimmy Hanlon Sundays at 8, Fox Sports Ohio. 3-0 Reds here in the bottom of the third. Jimmy Nelson back to work. They'll get 2, 3, 4. Hamilton, Votto, Phillips. Really creating action on the bases when he was up there the first time. A walk, a steal, a throwing error, and a run. Slap to the shortstop. Nice play by Yadiel Rivera to take a hit away from Hamilton. Those are lined out to the shortstop to end the second. Hamilton does the same here in the third.
It is very encouraging to see Billy Hamilton hitting the ball to the left side of the field with the authority that he is. I'm not talking about a guy that needs to hit the ball in the gap or knock the wall down, but that's exactly what you want to see Hamilton to do. Slice that ball the other way. Took a great play to get him out.
Batter now, Joey Votto. Took a call, third strike his first time. You can just tell by his body language that he didn't agree with the call of Jim Wolf. Jim Wolf, the home plate umpire. Remember his brother Randy Wolf, longtime big leaguer.
Pitch for the Brewers.
Yeah, I think at the end of his career, right? Shift on for Votto. 3 infielders on the right side.
And with the Randy Wolf, Jim Wolf situation, just so the viewers know, there was never a situation or a game in which Randy Wolf would come into a game and his brother would be behind the plate. Not like it happened around the city so many times this morning in all those amateur baseball games that were played.
Now, if he were on a crew that were working a Brewers game or whatever team Randy may have been with at the time, and he wasn't going to work the plate, was that okay?
I think yes, but I don't. I think they tried to avoid that at all costs.
Three and two now to Votto. That'd be a little uncomfortable for everybody.
Well, I mean, it is when it happens with 13-year-olds.
But you understand it there.
Uncle Stan. I mean, Mr. Umpire. Is that really a strike? He's a good umpire, Jim Wolf is. And his brother was a pretty doggone good pitcher. Played a long time in the major leagues. Oh.
Votto called out on strikes. Late strike call by Jim Wolf, at least in terms of making the call.
I got to give Votto credit. I mean, he's not even turning around to show Jim Wolf any emotion at all. No, that's a strike. All right, if our box is correct, and we think it is, he's thrown Joey Votto 2 excellent pitches to get called strike threes.
So a line out, a called third strike. Now here is Brandon Phillips. Well, every time he steps up there, it seems like he's hitting another milestone. He's hit a couple of them here tonight. The 1,000th game he has started with Votto at first. He hits a high, deep drive here near the wall, jumping up and gone. Home run for Brandon Phillips. And Phillips is now homered in 4 consecutive games. First time in his career he's hit homers in 4 consecutive games. He did it Wednesday against the Giants in each of the first 3 games of this series.
Well, he's in launch mode. There's no question about it. I mean, he crouched a little bit. He got a ball on the inner part of the plate, let it go just over the fence. In fact, it's so close that Craig Counsell is going to ask for a review or at least some conversation about that home run. He's got his video guys looking at it right now. He's now at the home plate talking to the home plate umpire, Jim Wolf.
They want an umpire review. This is not a challenge. This is an umpire review to make sure that ball was what it was called on the field, which was a home run. Jim Wolf and the third base umpire, the crew chief Gary Cedarstrom, go over there. Here's a look at it. Looked like it hit off the top of the yellow line and bounced into the stands.
Yeah, what they're wondering, if you're the Brewers, you're thinking, all right, did somebody reach out over the field and have it bang off their arm or their hand and then bounce into home run territory? Brandon's about to get high-fived for a second time.
Well, your call on the field was home run, so there has to be clear and compelling evidence to overturn that. On the replay that we just saw, it sure appeared as if the ball hit off the top of the yellow line and up and into the crowd. We'll wait to see what they think in New York. And they'll go with their original call. Home run, Phillips. Call confirmed. Home run, Brandon, number 5 on the year.
Yeah, he's waiting for it. Hey, where's everybody?
First time again in his career he's homered in 4 consecutive games. And 4-0 Reds now here in the bottom of inning 3. See, the last time a Reds player hit a home run in at least 4 consecutive games was Devin Mesoraco. He tied a club record by homering in 5 straight games. Middle of June 2 years ago, 2014. Phillips now will have the opportunity to tie a club record tomorrow afternoon on Mother's Day. Bruce towards center, but playable, and caught by Flores to retire the side. Phillips the home run, the big blow of the inning. Brandon gives the signal just like the umpires, and the phantom high fives in the dugout.
If you can't watch the games on TV, you can now stream Reds games live on your mobile device. Just go to the App Store and download the free Fox Sports Go app. Log in and stream the Reds wherever you go. It is a new look bullpen. Transactions today. Drew Hayes and Steve Delabar are up with the big club. Drew Hayes making his second appearance. First time we've seen Steve Delabar. What a story he is. The big news is J.J. Hoover being optioned down to AAA Louisville to try to get his game back. John Moscott with that left shoulder injury that's been giving him problems, placed on the 15-day disabled list. So J.J. Hoover, we wish him the best as he goes down there and tries to straighten it out.
Well, he'll work with Ted Power down there, the pitching coach in Louisville. We all know how good he seems to be in getting people straightened out. Good luck to J.J. down in Louisville. And in terms of John Moscott, I know there was a time not that long ago he couldn't even raise his arm above his shoulder. That's his of course, throwing shoulder, one that he dislocated in Detroit last year. Braun booms one out to left field, and the Brewers are on the board. A second deck shot there. Braun hits number 6.
That's why you don't want to face Ryan Braun with a couple of runners on base. Just a fastball that looked like it cut. He instead of tailing away from Ryan Braun.
The Reds are Braun's go-to team for sure. He has now hit 31 career home runs against Cincinnati, the most he has hit against any opponent, including 19 of them now here at Great American Ballpark. Third all-time behind Lance Berkman and Albert Pujols in terms of Reds opponents. Who's going to track this ball down as he gets to it on the warning track?
You know, a lot of ball teams come in here and they play the Reds and they can't believe how the ball carries here. How easy it is to hit a home run to right field on certain nights. The way the ball jumps to left field. Well, the Brewers are not surprised at all because they play in a ballpark that is actually more hitter friendly than is Great American Ballpark. Ball really jumps in Milwaukee for whatever reason.
Flagging that ball down, Suarez. Good pick on the receiving end by Votto. And Chris Carter is the second out of the inning.
Nice play by Suarez, reaching way out to get it. Little sidearm toss, didn't have enough on it, and a nice smooth pick by Votto. And that's 5 batters in a row that have hit the ball hard off of Brandon Finnegan.
Aaron Hill in the air to shallow left, and Duvall will make the play. So the home run got it started, but 3 in a row after that. 4-1 Reds in the middle of the fourth. Sports Ohio is brought to you by your local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. And by Cincinnati Children's, ranking 3rd in the country on U.S. News Best Children's Hospitals. Nice night here on this Saturday evening at Great American Ballpark. Good crowd on hand. Nice score so far. Good offense, good pitching. Trying to add to it here in the bottom of the fourth. Suarez, Duvall, and Barnhart against the right-hander Jimmy Nelson. You know, Nelson really kind of lucky to be here right now. Remember last year, it was what, middle of September, he was hit in the head by a line drive on the bat of the Cardinals' Tommy Pham. The right side of his head. Didn't pitch again the rest of the year, but miraculously did not have a concussion, did not have a cracked skull. But he did not pitch again the rest of the year. Certainly it was a scary moment for he, his teammates, his family.
Well, that's just part of it. You know, getting hit, recovering, having no damage to your head is the most important thing, obviously. But the next thing, as far as baseball is concerned, is to get back on the mound and not feel that every time you throw a certain pitch, the ball's coming right back at you, or have the fear of not being able to get out of the way of it. That particular injury has ruined a lot of pitchers' careers, where they just have not been able to get it back together.
That's what we're talking about. Pham hit that ball off the head of Jimmy Nelson. No fractured skull, no concussion. He said he really never even had a major headache over the whole thing. He was able to continue his physical work in terms of running and throwing and the like, but he did not compete in a game again last year. He was an 11-game winner last year. Jimmy Nelson, former #1 prospect in their minor league system, and right now certainly their #1 starter.
Well, he's using the breaking ball a lot more this second time through the lineup.
Duvall, solid single in the left his first time. He now is hitting 5 games in a row. Breaks his bat this time and collects another hit. He was all excited during batting practice today because he's a Louisville, Kentucky native. Derby Day down in Louisville. First pitch swinging Barnhart. Braun will make the play, 2 out. So Finnegan will bat. He had a base hit, RBI his first time. He now has 5 hits this year, including a double and a couple of runs batted in.
He's picking up right where Mike Leake left off.
He is, isn't he?
And I figured he would get something other than a fastball on the first pitch. It was the first pitch that he singled into left field to drive a run in. I mean, that in itself is satisfying for a pitcher at the plate. That the other pitcher out there is throwing him something other than fastballs is a measure of respect.
From 2-0 now to 2-2. How about that number? That's a great number to look at right there. 5 for 14 Finnegan, 0 for 42 the rest of the pitchers.
Not a great number if you're one of those offers.
Swing and a miss. 4th strikeout for Nelson. Reds leave a runner but lead 4-1 through 4.
retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
You know, there's still time if you'd like to sign up for the Coldwell Banker West Shell Redlegs Run. Each participant will receive a Redlegs Run t-shirt and Reds ticket, plus an exclusive Redlegs Run medal at the finish line. So sign up today at reds.com/run. That run comes up a week from today, May the 14th.
Now, you're not quite back in running shape yet.
No.
You had a little blowout, Achilles tendon blowout over the winter, but you're recovering very nicely. You would never know it by seeing you, but
thank you.
Eventually you'll be back on the track running a little bit.
I'll be back on the court playing.
Okay.
I don't know that I'll be back on the track running. I get enough running on the tennis court. Josh Hall, now our producer, he might like to run in that race if he's going to be in town.
Good looking breaking ball right there. Brandon Finnegan tonight is taking efficiency to the next level as far as pitch efficiency goes. He went through the first 4 innings on 43 pitches. So really somewhere around 60 pitches in 4 innings would be exceptional. But when you're down around 40 in 4 innings, he's had a 6-pitch inning, a 7-pitch inning. And I'm really stunned, to be honest with you, that the Brewers are not being more patient at the plate. I mean, after all, Brandon comes into this ball game having walked 18 batters in about 38 innings. So he's had some control problems. They come in spurts. But the Brewers have gone up there hacking.
If Finnegan has walked at least 2 in every start he has made this year, with the exception of his first start against Philly when he walked 1. Serve up that one. Flores into center. That's a base hit. Leadoff man on. Just a reminder, if you enjoy the game tonight, we look forward to bringing you a little bit later on our Miller Time moment of the game, brought to you by Miller Lite. Brewers now have 4 hits. Only the 1 run on the long ball by Ryan Braun. Here's Yadiel Rivera. Hit one back to the mound his first time retired. Made his first opening day roster this year with his Milwaukee club. Big league debut in September last year. Good location there by Finnegan, and he gets ahead 2 strikes. Toward second base, diving stop. Do they get the out? Yes, they do. Nice play by Cozart. Threw it from a prone position on the ground, got it to Phillips. They get the force out.
Well, this Reds ball club plays really good defense. I mean, this looked like a base hit. Had some overspin going through the infield. Cozart, yes, he can get to it, but can he get it out of his glove?
This is really...
Even Brandon likes this one. Watch him point at Cozart at the very end of this. Right there. You better believe it.
This is the kind of defense that we've become used to watching with this Reds team over the course of the last couple of years, but it wasn't like that in the early part of the season this year.
You know, it's really hard to gauge, and I know that the people that crunch the analytic numbers have figured out a way to do this better, but it's hard to gauge really what a good defense means to a pitching staff. And I think it means more to a young and inexperienced pitching staff than it does to, an experienced staff. For instance, the Cubs staff. They've got good defense, but when you're having guys that are kind of feeling their way through the big leagues for the first time, you can save some big innings.
Barnhart had it, dropped it, and Nelson is going to reach base. That'll be a sacrifice bunt for Nelson and an error on Tucker Barnhart.
Well, Nelson gets a break right here because he comes out of the box running hard, but then he kind of cuts it down into a jog. And Tucker reaches for it, and he's thinking, well, maybe I've got a chance, but. So no sooner do we start talking about how great the defense is than we see an error.
Last
time I'm doing that.
They have been playing very, very well defensively. In fact, they went into this game with a streak of 8 straight games without committing an error, their longest stretch of the year. You see Barnhart shaking his head on that thing, upset with himself. Alex Presley bats. And has not thrown a double play ball yet this year. Good time for one right now. We were talking last time about when they put the players' pictures on the video board. Reds players were dressed up as X-wing pilots. The Brewers players are stormtroopers. There's Alex Presley as a stormtrooper, all part of Star Wars weekend here at the Great American Ballpark. Stormtrooper. He's been through a few battles there. Look at that mask. There's one that takes care of his. Nice and clean. Brian Pena probably shines that thing after every day. Wipes it all down. Another opposite field hit for Presley. Going to send the runner for a moment, and then he held him up as a third base coach. Ed Cedar stopped the runner coming around third. Rivera and to scamper back, and now they're loaded with one out.
Well, this is really the way that every third base coach wants his runner to run. You keep running and running hard until I stop you. Don't you anticipate that I'm going to stop you and just slow up before you get to the bag. That's when guys get thrown out the plate. That's some nifty little hitting there by Alex Presley on back-to-backs at bats against left-hander Finnegan. Through all the coaching changes the Brewers have had over the last few years, that guy's a survivor, Ed Cedar.
Here's Hernan Perez. He's 0 for 2. Hit the ball hard as last time, lined out to Hamilton to end the third inning. He represents, as he stands in there, the go-ahead run for Milwaukee. Broken bat to third. They go to second, get an out, go to first, and safe the call. And the run will score. And it's 4-2. I guess Suarez had an opportunity. He had to make a decision there. Go around the horn or come home to first.
Well, the ball was hit too far from third base. There was no way he would get to third base and then have a chance to throw anybody else out. So he could have come home with that, but he thought his best shot was around the horn double play. Perez runs too well for that. even through all that, it was still very close at first base.
Because of the error, it'll go down as an unearned run, as will anything else the Brewers score in this inning. And now here's Braun, who launched one into the second deck and left his last time.
Braun had some really wild swings last night against Tim Adelman, and mostly on pitches that were breaking balls early in the count away from him. I get the feeling, even though his batting average is up and the Milwaukee people tell me he's hitting the ball the other way, I get the feeling he's playing home run ball here.
Well, you can tell by looking at that bat. That's a thin-handled bat with a big barrel on it. He gets a lot of whipping action, doesn't he, on that thing?
Now he's got strong hands. Most hitters do. Thought he would get a good pitch to hit on him. 2-0 count. Finnegan just laid it right on the edge.
He works him outside in all 4 pitches so far. Now he's at 3-1 with Lucroy on deck.
Yeah, pretty much all of them have been hard pitches, 90 or above, so they're all fastball type pitches. This might be a good spot right here to use that changeup.
Full count.
Goes with the heat.
Nelson at third base. Perez over at first. Perez represents the tying run. Braun the go-ahead run at the plate. Finnegan trying to dispose of him. Put an end to the top of the 5th. Perez will be on the move. There he goes. Tough play. Cozart. Votto got him at first. Nice play, Zach Cozart. Good pitch, Brandon Finnegan. The Brewers settle for 1 in the 5th.
And Votto with a little unique celebration together. And both have the ups. In fact, let's take you inside the celebration. Our Fox vision. You'll see the tandem jump and Joey Votto 3.1 feet off the ground. On the other side, Phillips slightly better ups than Votto, just a little bit. 3.6 feet. We asked both about this unique celebration.
Our relationship has grown. You know, I care about his success and him as a person, his family, and that's the sort of thing that comes over 1,000 games. You know, and he's someone the fans get excited for. They love having him here. It was you know, it was a little weird in the off season when he was about to go. I couldn't have imagined Brandon Phillips in another uniform.
That soundbite was so good we brought it to you twice. But I can tell you that Votto basically said we're trying to put the fun back in baseball, and he said it with a smile. And Phillips said, and he told me this in spring training, it was one of his missions to get Joey out of his shell a little bit and get him to smile on the field, and we have seen that in recent days. So credit to Brandon Phillips, because you can't be locked in 24/7.
All right, Kozar leads off the bottom of the 5th with a hit. You had Joey Votto at 3.1 feet with his jump, 3.6 feet for Phillips. I guess those are the sabermetrics of jumping and home run celebration. Sabermetrics and everything.
I like to see a lot more jumping going on, and that would be a chance for the analytical guys on our crew like Josh Hall and Jim Day to maybe do a little regressions. Let us know what comes up.
It's amazing, really, how Jim Day has really taken to the sabermetric side of baseball. Runner goes to that clip. Hamilton.
I don't know how it missed him.
Didn't hit him. He got out of the way, but it's a stolen base for Kozar. Talk about how fast he is. He's very quick as well.
Well, number one for Zach Kozar right there. Maybe that is finally an indication that his knee is completely 100% fine. He feels good. He's hitting the ball hard. He's hit it hard 3 times tonight. He's got 1 base hit to show for it.
He scored that run in the first, walked 2 stolen bases in an error, lined out his last time.
You know, Billy could probably square to bunt right here, bunt through the ball, Kozar steal third, and you'd have the third baseman charging, and he would have nobody there to cover the bag.
That would be the second time that would happen tonight.
Well, they wouldn't throw it because you see the third baseman down, but yeah, it would be the second time that the third baseman wouldn't be there, because you got third baseman here. So if Billy bunts, and if he bunts the third base side, he's going to have to come in here. And if Kozar wants to go on that pitch, you can get a free stolen base here.
Well, as you said, you could just show bunt.
Right, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Of course, right now the shortstop Rivera trying to keep Kozar honest over there. There it was where the third baseman came a few steps in, Perez. Kozar wasn't thinking about a stolen base. Not with nobody out.
Right.
I mean that wouldn't be the right time to do it.
The old rule, don't make the first or third out at third base. Still in on the grass down at third. Shortstop Rivera still cheating way over by the second base bag with Cozart leading off. Into right, base hit Hamilton. Cozart to move up 90 feet. Billy pulled that ball and gets himself a hit.
Boy, line drive after line drive for Billy. Tonight, a line drive right at the, or just beyond the glove, and then grabbed by the shortstop. This time, nobody gets it. You know, I'm wondering if maybe we're just beginning to see Billy Hamilton, you know, his hand feeling better, his thumb not bothering him anymore, getting more confidence at the plate, especially hitting from the left side. Now, this is a whole lot more like what everybody would hope to see out of Billy this year.
Now it's Votto and Nelson for the third time. Both times up so far. Votto has been called out on a third strike. He bats with runners into the corners, nobody out.
Going to throw over to first base.
Nelson, in terms of stolen bases, has given up 3 tonight, 8 on the year. Last year he gave up 24.
I mean, really what he ought to do is just not worry about Billy Hamilton, because he's going to steal the base whether you worry about it or not.
He takes off, fake to third, and now Hamilton back to first. Actually through to third.
Of course, if he faked the third, that is no longer a legal move. That would have been a balk, and everybody would have moved up a base. I do believe that move is still legal in high school, and I believe in college, but no longer in Major League Baseball or under the organized baseball rules. Had him leaning that time. You really got two things working against the Brewers trying to keep Billy close. Number one, the pitcher's got a slow move. Number two, you have a right-handed throwing first baseman. It's very tough for him to slap that tag down.
Great jump by Billy. Base hit the other way. Votto. Run will score. Hamilton to third. They're going to send him home. Here's the throw. It slips out of the hand of the infielder. That'll be an error. Votto to second base. And we just saw a runner score from first on a single into left field. How about that?
Votto uses the base open right there, the open spot in the infield perfectly. Hamilton going on the pitch. Shortstop covering second. There's a wide open space, and Billy Hatcher says, "Come on, Billy Hamilton."
I mean, he got a terrific jump. I mean, you can watch baseball for years and years and not see a runner score from first on a single. That's exactly what happened there. They'll charge an error on the third baseman Perez that allowed Votto to move to second base, and he got ready to turn and throw home. The ball popped out of his hand. Votto 2 RBIs, now give him 18 on the year. Chris said he found the hole in left center. And I mean to tell you, Hamilton was just absolutely scooting. Scores from first on a single. Clobbers this ball into center field. Flores is going to track it down. Votto tags and moves to third. Ooh, he just got in ahead of the tag. 1 out. Off the bat, it sounded like maybe his 5th home run in 4 days. Died out in front of the warning track. Gets the runner over. Batter will be Bruce. Let's give up a run on the top of the 5th. They've gotten 2 so far here in the bottom. Lead this game 6-2. The infield is in. They had double on a fly ball tonight, 1 for 2. He now has a modest hitting streak going of 4 in a row.
I mean, the Reds have really either scored in bunches or they have really scuffled in bunches. You know, they're in their 6-game losing streak. They got 10 runs total during those 6 games. They batted 150-something with runners in scoring position. The last 6 games, they're averaging 5.7 runs a game, so almost 6 runs per game. And as a team, batting around 370.
That was one of the questions about this team when the pitching was struggling and the offense was not doing much. People are saying, yeah, the pitching is struggling, but what about this offense? These guys should be doing better than they're doing.
Sometimes when you get down early in a ball game, your offense just goes to sleep because you just got to get out of the rhythm of a game. See that stat again because it really is very telling about whether this team is hot or whether it's cold.
Over 400 with runners in scoring position since.
Of course, that includes tonight.
Since the first 5 games.
A lot of the Reds players don't know this, but I mean, they're looking for their longest win streak since last June.
Bruce, a strikeout victim here in the 5th, so 2 out. Foul ball by Suarez. Yeah, the Reds won 4 in a row in June last year, June 7th through the 10th. 1 against San Diego, 3 against Philadelphia, all here at home. And that's the last time this team has won 4 games in a row. Gunning for that tonight. One and 2 now to Suarez. Jimmy Nelson coming off a very good start his last time out, a win, which he allowed just 2 runs in 7 innings in a victory over the Angels. He's given the Reds 6 runs, 8 hits tonight, and he's trying to get through the 5th.
This has got to be a demoralizing series so far for the Brewers. I mean, the first game in, Reds scored 5 runs in the first inning. Last night they scored 5 runs in the first 3 innings, and tonight they score 4 in the first 3 innings with their best pitcher on the mound.
This to get him through the 5th. Catch is made there by Carter, and the inning is over. But the Reds scored 2, including this incredible sprint by Hamilton, scoring from first on the single to left by Votto.
Brought to you by T-Mobile. Pirates versus Marlins. They were set to play in Puerto Rico because of health concerns. They have moved that to Miami due to the Zika virus. Matt Carpenter had a walk-off 2-run home run today. They beat the Pirates 6-4. His first career walk-off hit, and the Cubs just keep on keeping on. Defeated the Nationals 8-5 today. They're the first National League team to start 23-6 on the season since the LA Dodgers did it in 1977. Unbelievable start for the Cubs.
Well, thank goodness the Reds won't see them for a little while. That Cardinal win means the Reds need to win tonight to stay 2 games behind St. Louis for 3rd place in the Central. We were talking about how hot the Cubs were and are. Talked earlier about how hot the Nationals were. The Cubs have cooled down Dusty Baker's team. The win today puts the Cubs, as they said, at 23-6. The Nats at 19-11. Here, Brandon Finnegan trying to get through this 6th inning. Be the 5th time in 7 starts he's been able to do that. Cracked by Lucroy out to left center, and a home run. Lucroy's second, and it's 6-3.
Well, the beauty of not walking people is that when you give up a home run as a solo shot, they simply don't hurt you very much. He's given up home runs tonight. Brandon Finnegan has to the two best hitters in the Brewers lineup. Braun has hit one. Now Lucroy hits one deep into left center field. But really, so what? A leadoff home run can oftentimes be a rally killer when it comes to what happens after that. In the inning, that is.
So 2 home runs, both solo tonight for the Brewers. It's now 6-3. There's Chris Carter.
I'm wondering if Finnegan's just having a hard time throwing his changeup tonight, because normally the second or third time through the order we see him use that pitch a lot. It's been very effective getting right-handed hitters, especially off of his fastball. And I'm wondering if that last pitch was an attempted changeup that just didn't feel right out of his hand, because he hasn't thrown too many. He's upped the amount that he's thrown this year by far compared to last year, but not tonight. There's another. Wow, that was a fastball.
Both bullpens busy now. Milwaukee side, right-hander Blaine Boyer, whom we saw throwing last night's game. And there's one of the 2 newcomers to the Reds today, Steve Delabar. He actually joined the Reds organization when they were playing their final exhibition game of the spring up in Indianapolis. Walked into the clubhouse as a new body, new face in there. He says, "Hi, Steve Delabar, just joining the team today." Been pitching down in Louisville, closing down there.
He's going to get a chance to pitch up here. Finnegan on a 3-2 count, and we'll show you why that is important to him. Oh,
Hey, Phillips was playing him perfectly, but that ball ricocheted off his body and on into center.
It'll be interesting to see how that is ruled. It probably will be ruled an error, even though Brandon is way out of position, but he's playing for the shift. They figure Carter's going to pull the ball, and it goes right over the head and maybe ticked the glove of Brandon Finnegan, and then maybe took a bad hop on Brandon.
You didn't see it that time, but on the live shot you could see Phillips say, "Wow." Spin on that ball. Brandon will be charged with an error, so following the home run, that it almost looked like he thought that thing was going to come up and it stayed down.
Well, it could have hit the glove and even picked up more overspin.
Two errors on both sides tonight. Aaron Hill is lined out, popped up. In the series, 3 out of 10.
That's a spot right there for Finnegan. I mean, it's a spot for almost every pitcher, down and away. But he's got that little extra action. When he gets that ball down there, he really finishes the pitch, comes off his fingertips with life. And sometimes when you throw the same pitch, but you leave it up in the zone or on the inner part of the plate, it just doesn't have that life.
Another foul keeps Hill alive. Lucroy led off the inning with a home run ball to left center. Carter reaches in what is ruled as an error on Phillips. He's playing right up the middle. That's where Carter hit the ball. The ball seemed to skip away from Brandon. Close. He laid off, got the call. 2-2. Now he's gone full. Up over 82 pitches now for Finnegan. Mentioned that Delabar, Steve Delabar, just joined the team from AAA Louisville today. Needed to be added to the 40-man roster in order to get him on. The Reds transferred Devin Mesoraco from the 15-day to the 60-day DL. And where again, wish the best of luck on Tuesday to Mesoraco, who will undergo left shoulder surgery for torn labrum. Delabar and Drew Hayes up today. John Moscott onto the DL. J.J. Hoover option down to Louisville.
I guess when Brandon Finnegan goes full count, he's got him right where he wants him. 1 for 19. That's an amazing statistic because the count really goes in favor of the batter once it goes from 2-2 to 3-2.
Oh boy, he hit the heck out of that ball to Aaron Hill. That's a 2-run shot. And that makes it a 6-4 game. Third home run by Milwaukee tonight. Second of the year for Aaron Hill. It's been a 3-run 6th inning. Here comes Brian Price.
He just wanted to go away again, down and away with that fastball, and it just got up in the zone for Aaron Hill. Hill is not a very tall guy. You can see that he holds his bat flat, waiting for a pitch up, and he launched it.
That home run ball by Hill spells the end of the line here for Brandon Finnegan. He leaves, and Steve Delabar will come on and make his Reds debut. This is our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. To a pair of heavyweight wars as former champions and knockout masters finally meet in the octagon. It's all at a special time of 11 a.m. Eastern tomorrow morning from the Netherlands, only on FS1, or watch it live on Fox Sports Go. Brandon Finnegan disgusted with the way things ended up here in the 6th inning. He does leave with a lead of 6-5. He is the pitcher of record. New man in, making his Reds debut, Steve Delabar.
Well, Delabar's been around a little bit. You may have heard his story before, and it is an amazing story. Had a good run of it in 9 games with the Louisville Bats after signing as a unsigned free agent there. Delabar, a former All-Star. You know, with Delabar on the roster and Tim Adelman on the roster, who pitched for the Reds last night, the Reds now have a distinction of having a pitcher that was tried out for the Florence Freedom and was cut, and a pitcher that pitched for the Florence Freedom.
Yes, indeed. Not in the same year, though.
Correct.
He issues a 5-pitch walk to the first batter he faces on entering this game, and that's Ramon Flores. You saw Finnegan in the dugout. He went 5+ innings, 5 runs, 7 hits. 3 of those runs were earned. 3 home run ball night for him. He's still shaking his head in the dugout. Tying run on the batter now, Yadiel Rivera. Scored an unearned run back in the 5th, did Rivera. Swings late there. Delabar in there for the Reds is a Kentucky guy. Born in Fort Knox down near Louisville. High school at Central Hardin High in Cecilia, Kentucky. Played, as Chris mentioned, for the Florence Freedom back in '08. Now here he is with the Reds.
It's really an interesting story that has taken Delabar here onto the mound at Great American Ballpark. Very low round draft pick for the Padres. He beat around the bushes with the Padres for a few years and then got released. And then when he was working as a substitute teacher in his hometown down in Elizabethtown, Kentucky.
And anybody get to this ball? No.
Delabar was helping the high school baseball team, and he wanted to help them in the wintertime improve their arm strength and increase their velocity. So he worked with a program that included weighted balls to increase the velocity of his high school players. But he did the same program, and all of a sudden, when he didn't play in 2010, his own arm felt great. So he went back, and that's what he ended up playing a little bit in the minor leagues. He signed a minor league deal with the Mariners in 2011. He was eventually called up by the Mariners later that year.
So when you're talking about using a weighted ball, you're actually talking about playing catch with a weighted ball?
Oh, yeah. It was a whole program. Some of it means playing catch with it. Other ones mean you hold on to it as you do your throwing exercises, and you use various weights. It's an extremely popular program among all amateur baseball pitchers now. And a lot of people view it as the magic wand of being able to increase your velocity, but it doesn't work for everybody. Delabar now throwing 96 miles an hour, so it has certainly worked for him because his velocity really popped when he used that.
So what is it? I'm just a little confused on it. Was it a program that he developed or something?
Well, he was involved in it. It was in the early stage. There's been weighted ball programs for a long time all around baseball, going all the way back to Danny Ditweiler. But it's becoming more and more perfected. That area down in Kentucky, Elizabethtown, they're well known for a training program that includes a weighted ball. Tom House has done the same thing out in California.
Neuenhuis pinch hitting here. There's an out at second. Delabar covering the bag, but they do not get Neuenhuis at first base. So runner aboard, the tying run now with 2 out.
Votto gets a good high bounce, gives a nice feed right there, but just not turned in time. I think even without the momentary bobble by Cozart, you do not get him at first base. Neuenhuis is the center fielder.
So 2 out, top of the order now, and Alex Perez. Neither starting pitcher tonight records an out in the 6th. In Finnegan's case, he went to the mound, faced 3, did not get an out. Jimmy Nelson's case, he goes 5, allows 6 runs, 5 earned, and 8 hits. The starters right now are the pitchers of record in the 6-5 game Reds here in the top of the 6th. Brewers have hit 3 home runs, 2 in this inning. To Votto. Out at second, the inning is over. But the Brewers get 3. We head to the bottom of the 6th inning. 6-5 Reds. Action aplenty here tonight at Great American Ballpark. Right now, Reds by a run at 6-5. Bottom of the 6th inning. New pitcher on for Milwaukee to face Adam Duvall. You saw this young man last night, Blaine Boyer, into the game.
Well, 24 years old from Atlanta, Georgia, but that's not the whole story with Blaine Boyer. You may remember him first coming up with the Atlanta Braves, but he has pitched for a ton of teams: Braves, Cardinals, Diamondbacks, Mets, Twins, Padres, even over in Japan. In fact, he retired in 2012, only to come back later and say, I don't think I want to retire. Then he signed a minor league deal with the Royals after that. Signed it in January, released in May 2013, then went to Japan in 2014. Came back, played minor leagues with the Padres. Got called back up by the Padres that year. Became a free agent after the season. This year he came to camp as a non-roster invitee when he signed a minor league deal back in February. And he made the opening day roster.
And you mentioned last night, it's interesting, 346 big league appearances, every one of them out of the bullpen. You get Duvall to start the bottom of the sixth. Last night he came in, worked the seventh inning, struck out Barnhart, was able to get Schebler on a fly ball, and Cozart the same. Here's Barnhart against him for the second night in a row. Tucker tonight 0 for 2. Further action in the Reds bullpen now. J.C. Ramirez is throwing. Jordan Pacheco, little used as of late, in the on deck circle. One of our Reds home run hits the Toyota sign during tonight's game. Elena Leo, South Lebanon, Ohio, will win the beautiful Tundra that's on display here at Great American Ballpark. Remember, you'll register and have an opportunity to win at an upcoming game by seeing your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. Good luck tonight to Elena Leo out of South Lebanon, Ohio. Jordan Pacheco will bat for Steve Delabar. Will be credited for 1 inning worth of work. Pacheco on the year, 5 hits, 23 at bats, .217 average. 3-for-10 as a pinch hitter. Non-roster invitee who made this club out of spring training. Mesoraco down, he becomes really the third catcher on this team. Barnhart, Cabrera, and then Pacheco, who has done a decent amount of catching in his career. 59 games in his career behind the plate. He strikes out here. So 1-2-3 6 turned in by Blaine Boyer. game, you can get up to 3 half-price tickets when you purchase a full-price ticket. Plus, don't miss kids-only giveaways, live mascot races, face painters, games, and more. Bring the family to the ballpark for the next Family Sunday game. For tickets, 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com/family. A lot going on out here tomorrow. Family Sunday Day, Mother's Day, the picture frame being given away, the finale of the 3 consecutive Star Wars days here at the ballpark, the Fathead given away, and of course the Reds and the Brewers wrapping up the 4-game series. New pitcher J.C. Ramirez.
Ramirez, a hard thrower, only 27 years old, among the 3 pitchers that are on this roster right now that were not with the Reds when spring training began.
Ramirez, Delabar.
It seems like every time you bring a new reliever in, we talk about the story, the twisted road that they had to take to find their way here to the major leagues on this mound in Cincinnati. And really, Ramirez is like that. And maybe it's just these stories are more akin to relievers than other position players. I mean, Ramirez has been around. Originally signed by the Mariners. He's played for the Diamondbacks and the Phillies, been traded around a couple of times. Outrighted off the roster by the Phillies, minor league deal with the Indians.
Well, you alluded to the fact that he can throw and throw hard. When you can do that, people are going to give you a shot.
Well, you're right. And every team that receives this player thinks, all right, well, we're the ones that are going to figure out how to teach him the zip code on those fastballs. And if you ever get it down, you really got something. I mean, so why not? I mean, how many guys do you have in your minor leagues right now that have a better arm than throwing 96 and 97 miles an hour? Which now, that speed really is pretty much the standard for middle to late relievers.
And he rings up Braun. Well, he gave the strike 3 call, but actually it's 1-2. Home plate umpire Jim Wolf signaled as if it was strike 3. And then he realized.
There it is.
Ah, he gets it. Struck him out twice.
Well, this slider is what the Reds would really like to see. Ramirez, who by the way was in spring training with the Reds. I misspoke when I said he wasn't. But that's a slider that they sent him down the minor leagues. The reason he didn't make the ball club out of spring training, even though he had a pretty good run of it down there in Goodyear, was that they wanted him to work on that slider.
So the 3 you were thinking of, Ohlendorf, Straley, and Delabar.
Delabar,
right.
Correct.
Lucroy homers last time. He's 1 for 3. Reds trying to protect a 1-run, 6-5 lead here in the 7th. Lucroy was an all-star 2 years ago. Chris talked about last night the injuries that he suffered last year. Toe injury, concussion late in the season. Nice pitch there and a ground out to short. Good job by J.C. Ramirez. Down go the Brewers in order. Stretch time here in Cincinnati. Reds action 30 minutes before every game. That's with Reds Live pregame here on Fox Sports Ohio. It's all presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. Tomorrow on Mother's Day, another edition as the two teams here, the Reds and the Brewers, wrap up this 4-game series. There's the probables for tomorrow. John Lamb will go for the Reds, his second start. Junior Guerra will pitch for Milwaukee. Again, it's a 1:10 start tomorrow, 12:30 with Reds Live here on Fox Sports Ohio. Another new pitcher on for the Brewers, another young man we've seen before. He pitched last night, Michael Blazek. Perfect inning with 2 strikeouts for Blaine Boyer. He gives way to Blazek. Up tonight, hitting 3 trips. Hamilton on deck. Isaac worked the 8th inning last night. Walked the batter, but did not give up a run. This Milwaukee bullpen has been better than their starters. Told you the starters came in with the worst ERA in the big leagues into this series. Their bullpen 13th of 15. But right now the Reds bullpen is at the bottom, but they have been getting better. Cozart goes down to get that ball and shoots it into left, his second hit.
Guy's amazing. I mean, he's actually hit the ball harder in the 2 times he has made outs tonight than he has on the 2 times he has had base hits. But he just goes down, and that's a pitcher's pitch right there. Look how still his head is. That is really the key. At the point that he makes contact, he's not floating out over the plate. His head isn't moving towards the pitcher's mound. He's just solid and feeling good.
Came in 6th in the league in hitting at .341, and he'll bump that average up. At least right now, he's 2 for 4. Here's Hamilton. And again, Perez in at 3rd. grounded out last night against Blazek. Got a nice night, Hamilton. A couple of steals. Forced that bat throw by Lucroy out on the left in the first, allowed him to score, and then of course in the fifth scored from first on a single in the left by Votto.
I mean, Billy's been right in the middle of it, and that's what you want him to be. That's the whole idea of being disruptive.
Foul ball right at the plate. Billy Hatcher down at third base. He has not done it here. Everybody was so used to seeing Billy over at first base, but he switched this year over to third. When Jim Riggleman went into the dugout to become the bench coach. In fact, he went to Brian Price and said, I want to go over to third. He's been there before with Tampa, and he's done a terrific job over at third base in the box.
That's as good as a bunt.
Carter makes the play, and now it'll be Votto with a runner at second and one out. But Billy not happy with that AB. Here's Votto. Drove in 2 runs with that single his last time. Reds have had a nice run in this series of hitting with runners in scoring position. First 2 games of the series, 5 for 9. Tonight, going into this at bat for Votto, they are 4 for 9. Go by Cozart, ground out slowly to first by Hamilton. Runner moves up. Chance for Joey, sitting at 18 runs batted in. Rivera, the shortstop, cheating over that way. Now he'll scoot back some. That's 2-1. Here you see Rivera, the shortstop. He was moved in close, and now here he comes again. Trying to keep Cozart close. leading him that way, and Rivera throws out Joey Votto. So 2 out. And to take a look at our IGS bringing the energy feature. Milestone night tonight for Brandon Phillips. Mentioned earlier, 1,000 starts next to Votto out at second base. 4 straight games with a home run, first time in his career. And tonight also the 1,500th game that he has played wearing a Reds uniform. 8th player in franchise history to get to 1,500 games. He'll pass Frank Robinson before the team leaves home. Frank played in 1,502 games. Later this year, he'll pass Vada Pinson, 1,565. Of course, Pete Rose, the all-time leader, 2,722 games as a Red. Congratulations, though, to Phillips. Number 1,500 here tonight. In the air to right, and Presley. And the inning is over. Reds leave a runner. They're stranded 4. Lead by a run as we head into the 8th. By a score of 6-5. There's Brandon Finnegan with a base hit in the second inning that made it 3-0 in favor of the Reds. And then Brandon Phillips. There's the home run ball that came as a 2-out solo shot in the third. His 4th home run in 4 games. Playing the hitter, playing the umpire. Here's Votto with the 2-run single in the 5th inning. It scored Cozart. And look at Billy go. He scores from first base on this single. Big one right there. 3 home runs by the Brewers in this game. 1 by Braun, 1 by Aaron Hill, another one by Jonathan Lucroy. Right now, as we play into the 8th inning, a 6-5 Reds lead. That's our Honda game summary. Back to work goes J.C. Ramirez, very efficient. He tied the Brewers in order in the 7th. Works on Chris Carter here. Carter hit that ball, and Phillips is playing in the exact same position right now where he was in the 6th. Carter hit that ball over Finnegan's head. May or may not have tipped his glove. Like it stayed low on Brandon, who thought it was going to come up. Skipped by him off his glove and out into center. He was given an error. Carter in the series has 4 hits and 11 ABs, including a home run. This time, Ramirez with the gas strikes him out.
Boy, really took care of him on all fastballs. In fact, these two guys faced off each other last year a couple of times in September wearing different uniforms. Carter Astros, J.C. Ramirez Seattle, and Carter got the best of him with a home run, but not tonight.
Here's Aaron Hill. It's his blast against Finnegan that sent Brandon to the dugout. 2-run homer in the 5th inning that made it a 1-run game. Pardon me, in the 6th inning. 1 for 3 tonight. It's this ball high, deep into left field. Game is tied. Multi-home run game for Aaron Hill. The Reds, who once led this game 4-0, now find themselves in a 6-6 battle here in the 8th.
Well, this ballpark has been a launching pad in this series with the Brewers. I mean, Hill just gets one right down the can. You know, it really is amazing, though, the athletes that we're looking at playing right now. That you've got J.C. Ramirez throwing 97 miles an hour. And evidently, if you throw it down the middle, 97 is hitting speed.
Was for Aaron Hill on that one. 6th multi-home run game of the career for Aaron Hill, but the first since 2012. Flores rung up.
Got a lot of low strikes and unhappy hitters. Now those are about 3 unhittable pitches right there, so Flores will feel better after he sees the tape.
2 out. Here is Rivera, who's 0 for 3. Caleb Cotham up in the Reds bullpen. Colin Walsh is on deck for Milwaukee. Blazek pitched the 7th. They do have action out in their bullpen. Tyler Thornburg getting loose for Milwaukee. The Brewers had scored 6 runs in the first 2 games of this series. They put a 6th spot on the board here tonight. We play in the 8th inning. Suarez, inning over, but the home run ball by Aaron Hill is 2nd of the night, and we are dead even at 6 heading into the bottom of the 8th. Bring the family to the ballpark and enjoy live mascot races, face painters, games, and more. Plus, all kids 14 and younger get a Star Wars themed fathead thanks to PNC Bank. For tickets, 513-381-REDS, or visit reds.com. It'll close out our Star Wars themed weekend here at Great American Ballpark. Coming out with Mom. She'll probably like the game as well. She'll get a picture frame. Everybody gets the game. The finale of the series, the Reds and the Brewers. New pitcher on here. This is Tyler Thornburg. Fourth pitcher of the night for Milwaukee. He's out there to start the bottom of the 8th.
First time we have seen Tyler Thornburg in this series. He's the number 2 on the Brewers totem pole as far as the importance of relievers. Jeremy Jeffress is their closer. Thornburg is their setup man.
Bruce down on 4 pitches. He strikes out for the second time tonight. 8 of them now by Milwaukee pitching. Here's Suarez against Thornburg, who last pitched on Wednesday against the Angels. Suffered the loss when they gave up 4 runs in 2/3 of an inning. That's a game that was tied late. 2-2 after 7. Angels ultimately won that game 7-3. Thornburg suffered the loss. Duvall waiting on deck. Reds last scored in the 5th on the 2-run single by Votto. Milwaukee 3 in the 6th. 1 more in the 8th to tie this game. Tops that ball to the shortstop, and Rivera throws him out. Milwaukee getting some pretty good relief work here tonight.
Their bullpen is not a bad bullpen. They've got so many different parts on this team. Even looking at the Brewers from away, you have to figure it's going to be a while until Craig Counsell can get this team to start playing as a team together. But the back end of their bullpen is strong. Blasek, Thornburg, and Jeremy Jeffress.
They have 2 key members really missing on the DL. Corey Knebel, Will Smith, both out with injuries.
They brought up their left-hander Kirkman today, Michael Kirkman. Gives them 2 lefties in the bullpen.
Duvall tonight, a pair of singles, 2 out of 3. He's now hitting 5 games in a row.
Yeah, that's a pitch you don't see much anymore. That big overhand looping curveball. I mean, So many breaking pitches now learned by hard throwing pitchers like Thornburg are that hard slider.
Duvall out on strikes, second time tonight. Reds in order in the 8th. Fox Sports Ohio has been brought to you by Kroger. Stop by your neighborhood Kroger to save big store-wide. Great food, low prices at Kroger. And by Toyota. For over 30 offers, visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. Ross Ohlendorf takes over here in the top of the 9th inning. Third reliever, fourth pitcher of the night for Brian Price's team. Ohlendorf works for the first time in this series. He worked Wednesday, the afternoon game against the Giants. And after getting the first 2, this is with that streak still ongoing of the number of consecutive games in which they had been scored upon. He gave up a home run ball. Well, I'm sorry, he gave up back-to-back doubles to Mac Williamson and Denard Span. Giants scored in the 9th. Reds won the game. Now here he is in the 9th inning tonight. Domingo Santana, originally in the lineup, then scratched. Pinch hits here for Tyler Thornburg. Talked about him, a young man who was acquired from Houston at the end of July last year. Somebody hollering from the Milwaukee dugout out of Jim Wolf.
And smiling, it must have been a one-liner.
For 4 as a pinch hitter this year, Santana. Out with right shoulder tightness. He has not started now for 4 consecutive games. Pinch hit last night in the 8th inning and struck out. Presley on deck. Strike there. Call. There's that pitch you've been talking about all night.
Well, in that at bat, Santana thinks that he got robbed on a pitch up in the zone, and he certainly thinks this last pitch by Ohlendorf is a ball. We show it right on the inside corner at the knees.
Pretty good pitch, isn't it?
Think that all the time.
Top of the order now, and Alex Presley. Couple of singles tonight, 2 for 4. He's had a nice series, 5 hits, including a pair of home runs. Reds in the 9th inning against a new pitcher. They'll have the 8-hitter Barnhart, pinch hitter for Ohlendorf, and then Cozart. Brewers get anybody on here in the 9th, and Braun will come to the plate. Down the left field side in a foul ball. That's the way that Press has been hitting the ball tonight. Make sure following each and every Reds game, you're right here with us on Fox Sports Ohio for Reds Live Post Game. It's brought to you by Performance Kings Honda. Reds win. We'll have an interview down on the field, and of course, all the interviews and comments from the clubhouse. Reds Live Post Game, following tonight's game and every game. Popped him up. Suarez in fair ground makes the play. So 2 out. Here comes Hernan Perez. Hitless at 4 with a run batted in tonight. Brewers, they have had Colin Walsh start the first 2 games over at third. They've had to do a lot of juggling with Scooter Gennett out on the DL. Tonight it's Perez getting a chance at third. Ohlendorf trying to give his team a chance to score 1 time in the bottom of the 9th and win this thing. Strike away from doing so. Fascinating that Ohlendorf could keep that ball in his glove in the windup and still get the proper grip every time.
It's a really old-fashioned way of doing it.
On a breaking ball in the dirt, down goes Perez, and a perfect 9th for Ross Ohlendorf. Bottom of the 9th, the run will win it.
Time moment brought to you by Miller Lite. Let's take you out west. Mets in San Diego. Bartolo Colon, 246 at-bats, no home runs in his career until tonight. 365 feet down the left field line. Bench going crazy. The guy they call Big Sexy. Sexying himself around the base pass. It takes him 30 seconds to get to home plate. Milking it for every second. A career in the making. And now Bartolo Colon has more home runs than he does walks in his career. Your Miller time moment.
That goes down as a classic right there.
I mean, in San Diego of all places. One of the hardest ballparks in the world to hit a home run.
Watch Billy get around the bases as compared to Bartolo Colon getting around the bases.
So it took Colon 30.
Right. Billy could have lapped him twice if they had started at the same time.
But still, that's exciting for Colon to hit a home run. I mean, for all those people that were burying me on Twitter the other night when we were talking about DHing and pitchers hitting and so on, there you go. Example A right there.
The big man probably passed the Mets leadoff man and said, take 2 or 3, would you?
Jeffress, former #1 draft pick. He was a Brewer through and through. Came up from the 2006 amateur draft out of a Halifax County High School in Boston, South Boston, Virginia. No one has ever doubted the power in his right arm.
A couple of detours for him before he was able to get back to Milwaukee.
He did, and he's also played for some other ball clubs, Kansas City, Toronto.
To center. Turns out he hit it too hard. Right at Flores, and out number 1. Now Scott Schebler will pinch hit for Ross Ohlendorf. This is not, of course, a safe situation for Jeffers, but this is the first opportunity he has had in his career to be a closer. Schebler pinch hitting here. Of course, a week ago tomorrow, he had those 2 big doubles in Pittsburgh. Give the Reds the win there. 1 for 10 as a pinch hitter, hitting 175 overall with a homer and 8 runs batted in. I mentioned Jeffress had not been a closer before. He had 1 save in his big league career prior to this year, but given an opportunity here, he is 7 for 7 save chances this season. Cozart on deck. love that one. 3 late and close go-ahead ribbies this year for him, the most in the National League for Schebler. The opening night winner, and then the 2 the other night in Pittsburgh, the other day in Pittsburgh, a week ago tomorrow. Add to that total right here.
Well, the parameters for close and late, as I understand it, are 7th inning or later, 2 runs or less. I got to figure after missing with a curveball right there, Jeffress is going to come with the heat. And when Schebler shined in spring training, it was from hitting that heat.
What he gets stays alive. Tardy on that one, wasn't it?
Well, he's got a slight hitch in his swing, Schebler does, where he holds his hands low and then he kind of gets them, bounces them up and down as the pitch is on the way. But I'm not so sure that's why he was late. I think it has a lot to do with the fastball of Jeremy Jeffress. Drop the curveball on him.
He does, and that's going to be a pinch hit single. Good adjustment by Schebler. He gets the breaking ball. The second pinch hit of the season, and that, with 1 out, is the winning run.
Well, he got tired of throwing the fastball and having Schebler foul it off, so he tried to trick him with a curveball, and Schebler speeds his bat up and pulls it right in the hole.
Cozart now. Schebler represents the winning run. He's at first base in this 6-6 game, bottom of the 9th. Hits in each of his last 2 times up for Cozart.
And he's hit the ball hard every time up.
They play him straight up infield and outfield.
In fact, the first pitch he saw tonight against the starter Jimmy Nelson, he hit all the way to the left center field wall, and fighting the sun and the wall, Ryan Braun caught him for an out. But he has not had an easy out yet.
Trying to come through here in the bottom of the 9th, Zach Cozart.
Looks like Cozart's using a different style of bat. Maybe not the model number with the grip, but certainly the color of the bat. I forget what they call that stained effect. But you better keep those babies under lock and key, because there are a lot of hits in them, and teammates are not afraid of grabbing a few hits from him from time to time.
We'd love to see another one right here, indeed.
Good pitch.
There's Schebler, the winning run. Brewers tied it on a home run in the 8th by Hill at 6. Reds batting now in the bottom of the 9th. Hunter back in the same spot right there. Barnhart hit it hard, but lined out to center to start the inning. Schebler on a 3-2 breaking ball, lined one into right for a pinch hit single. Cozart now, Hamilton on deck. Votto in the wings. Reds scored early in this game, a run in the first, 2 in the second, another one in the third. Then 4-0 after 3. 6-2 after 5. Brewers have scored the last 4, but the Reds trying to score the last run of this one. Those are making Jeffers work here. Crowd of over 27,000 here tonight at Great American Ballpark. Like to see the Reds win their 4th game in a row. To make it 4 walk-off wins this year. Hit hard toward left field, but playable for Braun. 2 out for Hamilton. Billy Hamilton, boy, he has been something to watch on the bases in this game. Is back in the first inning, a steal of second, and a steal of third with Perez, the third baseman, not moving. Unfortunately for Milwaukee, fortunate for the Reds, Lucroy threw that ball out into left field. Here's that 9-second sprint from first on the base hit into left by Votto. Unbelievably scoring from first base on a single.
He scores from first base on a base hit in as much time as it takes some hitters to get ready in the batter's box.
Like to see him wreak some havoc here at the plate. Send Schebler around. Billy chops it toward the second baseman. And we will go to extra innings. Extra baseball from Great American Ballpark here tonight. This year for the Reds here at Great American Ballpark. We are 6-6 into the 10th. Another new pitcher, one of the more effective relievers for the Reds this year, Caleb Cotham.
He is. He was one of the players that the Reds received in exchange for Aroldis Chapman. Cotham on the major league roster. The other 3 are still toiling down the minor leagues. Chapman, by the way, will be activated on Monday as a member of the New York Yankees. Having served his 30-game suspension by then, I'm sure the Pinstripers are happy to get him back in. From what I have read, he will immediately be placed in the closer's role, so there'll be no easing him into it for Chapman. He'll go right to the back of the bullpen.
Not been a good year in the Bronx this year as of yet. 10-17. Gotham gets Braun to start the 10th inning. Reds playing their second extra inning game. They went 11 last Sunday, winning 6-5 in Pittsburgh. Brewers, this is their first extra inning game of the year. Braun tonight 1 for 4. Gotham worked last night 2 innings of shutout baseball. Cozart will get to it. Oh, spin and throw. Got him. No, safe at first. Votto off the bag. What a terrific play, though, by Zach Cozart. Reds will take a look at it. Ryan Price to the top step.
I mean, we've already seen Cozart just all over the field behind second base. Here he goes deep into that hole. Plenty on the throw. And the foot off the bag. But what an effort by Cozart. Man, oh man.
The speed in which he got rid of that ball, incredible. Good stretch by Votto. Gave it all he could, but couldn't catch the ball and stay on the bag. An infield single by Braun starts the 10th against Gotham. Here's Lucroy. They've got 4 in a row here. Braun, Lucroy, Carter, and Hill very capable of the long ball. All have homered in this series, and all but Carter have homered tonight. Lucroy 1 out of 4. Former MVPs talking things over down there at first base. Votto in 10, Braun the next year. Up the middle, that's another hit. So Gotham greeted with back-to-back hits by the Brewers. Lucroy now 2 for 4. Check that 2 for 5 tonight. Now the go-ahead run out in scoring position with nobody out. Brewers now get action in their bullpen. A right-hander, Carlos Torres.
Now the Brewers have 8 sacrifice bunts on the year. Carter does not have one of them, and you wouldn't think that they're asking their slugger to lay one down right here.
And indeed he is not.
I don't know if Carter's had one in his entire professional career. Just doesn't look like the bunting type to me.
The big swing type.
Well, he's a big swing type and he's got plenty of power, but the word is that he can be beat upstairs on fastballs. You don't want to get him thigh high, but you want to get him letter high, and Gotham has thrown back-to-back fastballs in the 93-mile-an-hour range right by him.
Toward the hole, Cozart dives, but he has no play. Infield single, base hit to center, infield single, and the Brewers have loaded him up with nobody out.
Boy, that's just rough luck for Gotham there. Not hit very hard, but hit in a perfect spot.
Great opportunity for Milwaukee. Aaron Hill, twice his homer tonight. Never has hit 3 home runs in a game in his career, a major league career that began back in 2005. 3 home runs this year, 154 in his career. Does have a grand slam that came in 2011. A member of the Blue Jays against the White Sox.
Predictably, the Reds are bringing the entire infield in. You know, yes, they want a double play, but they want the front end of that double play to be at home plate. Back-to-back breaking balls off the plate for Cotham. He's got to throw a strike here.
Oh boy, Hill cranks one out toward left field, and that ball is a grand slam, the second of his career for Aaron Hill, and the first ever 3-home run game for the veteran Hill. And Milwaukee has now scored 8 unanswered, and they lead this game 10-6.
Well, you pitch yourself into a situation where you have to throw a strike. You miss a couple of pitches with the breaking ball, and Hill and everybody else in the ballpark and at home watching knows the fastball is coming. That fastball better be in a really nice spot. And it was not. Hill got it on the inner part of the plate and launched it. Here's what I'm talking about. You see where Tucker Barnhart is. He wants it outside. Hill wants it inside. Hill gets his wish.
Flores cracks one out to right center field. Off the wall on the fly. He'll get himself a double. 5 batters and all have reached for Milwaukee here in the 10th. Here comes Brian Price up the steps. Drew Hayes has been throwing in the Reds bullpen. Hayes just up also today from Louisville along with Steve Delabar. And Drew Hayes will enter this game. Caleb Cotham does not retire a batter here in the 10th inning. Hayes, he and Steve Delabar, who pitched earlier, came up together today from Louisville. Hayes been up here, sent back down, back up here now, and second pitcher of this inning, and the sixth pitcher of the night for the Reds. A 4-run 10th, a grand slam by Aaron Hill. First time in his career he's had a 3-home-run game. It's the third grand slam given up by the Reds this year. All three of them have been in this ballpark. Starling Marte hit one against J.J. Hoover. Chris Bryant hit one against the man on the mound right now, Drew Hayes. That's Yadiel Rivera with a runner aboard at second. Nobody out. 4 runs in. That's going to be an infield single. Hayes started after it, stopped. Runner took off to third. Suarez went to the bag. Nobody there to field that ball. 3 infield singles in this inning.
Well, you know, the pitcher needs to go after that ball all the way until he hears somebody calling him off of that. And I think he assumed that Suarez was going to be there. I'm not saying that Hayes would have been able to get that ball anyway. It was a pretty good bunt right in that no man's land area.
Colin Walsh pinch hits for Jeffress. Also started the first 2 games of this series. Takes off from first. Reds were not holding him on. Jeffress right now, pitcher of record for Milwaukee. Cotham for the Reds.
He cleared him out of that dugout. That ball went right off one of the railings that were on the steps.
Strikes goes Walsh. That's the first out here in the 10th inning.
Well, the Reds are still playing the infield in. They want to keep this within slam range. I mean, you never really know what's going to happen. So Ryan Price is just trying to minimize the damage, keep it right there, and maybe have a chance to come back in the bottom of the 10th.
Top of the order now, and Alex Presley, 8th man to bat in the inning. Infield hit by Braun, and almost a terrific play by Cozart to get him at first. Solid single to center by Lucroy. Infield single by, of all people, Chris Carter. And then the grand slam by Aaron Hill. 10-6 Brewer lead and 8 unanswered runs. Now at 2-0, they will simply put Presley on and face Perez. Loads them up for the second time in this inning. Jonathan VR, who has been the starting shortstop in each of the first 2 games of this series. Now will come on to bat for Perez. VR hitting .263 with a homer and 6 RBIs. He's not having at bat as a pinch hitter this year. First pitch swinging to left. Back goes Duvall near the wall. That is off the wall. 1 run will score. 2nd run will score. Throw goes over to 3rd, and there's nobody there. 3rd run will score. This has been a 7-run inning. Cozart grabbed that ball from the relay man. From the outfielder, I should say. Duvall spun and fired to 3rd to try to get the runner over there, Presley. Problem was, nobody was there at 3rd base.
Ball hit a long way. But it comes right back to Duvall, who fires it into the cutoff man. And Cozart's assuming, well, there's going to be somebody at 3rd base, right? Because that's probably where I'm lined up to throw. Suarez looked like he was halfway to home. You know, out of all this, though, how does Brian Price remain so stoic in the Reds dugout?
You don't see him change that expression very often.
I'll tell you, he's perfected a poker face here in 2016.
Those ought to be charged with an error. 3rd of the night by the Reds. Braun got it all started with an infield single. He's the 10th man to bat in this inning, and there's still only 1 out. Bruce come charging in, and Jay's going to get it. 2 out. A 7-run inning for Milwaukee here in the 10th. Lucroy now for the 2nd time. He had a single into center as the 2nd batter to face Cotham in this inning. Cotham is charged with 5 hits and 5 runs. This is the largest inning against the Reds this year as Lucroy flies out to center to end it. A 7 spot in the 10th by Milwaukee. 10th inning. How about taking a look at some good news? How about a Volkswagen drive of the game? This is all Brandon Phillips. 4 home runs in 4 days. He hit one on Wednesday. That was against Jake Peavy of the Giants. Hit one here Thursday. That was against Chase Anderson. Last night against Cravey. And then tonight against Jimmy Nelson. 4 games, 4 home runs. First time in his career, a Volkswagen drive of the game. Congratulations to Brandon Phillips. Well, the bats will really have to get going here in the bottom of the 10th inning. The most runs the Reds have scored in an inning this year is that 8th spot they put up against Philadelphia way back on the 7th. They do that, they win this game. Votto leads it off against the new pitcher Carlos Torres. He pitched 2 innings worth of baseball last night, 2 perfect innings. He gets Votto to start things off. In the game tonight, has a hit, 1 for 4, so his on-base streak continues now at 14. They're shifted out there now. Milwaukee did make some defensive changes. Jonathan VR stayed in the game. He's a shortstop. Aaron Hill moved from second to third. Yadiel Rivera from short to second. Phillips on deck, then Bruce. Strike 3 called. 3rd time tonight. Votto has been called out on strikes.
Now, he's not the first hitter to complain about the strike zone of Jim Wolf tonight, but I got to tell you, every time we've checked the pitch with the Fox tracks, Wolf has been pretty much right on.
So 1 for 5 tonight for Votto with 3 called 3rd strikes. Here's Phillips. That home run ball back in the 3rd. They're going to Mother's Day tomorrow, trying to tie a franchise record with 5 home runs in 5 games in a row. Phillips again, deep to left. How about Phillips? 5 home runs in 4 days. A multi-home run game for Brandon, and it's 13-7. Boy, oh boy, does he have the home run swing going. Time in his career, he's had a multi-home run game.
Again, almost the exact spot. I mean, Brandon has a spot right now when he gets hot, and he's hot obviously right now. He doesn't miss it. And that spot is on the inner third of the plate, even off the plate a little bit. From the knees to the mid-thighs. See you later.
5 home runs in the last 4 games for Phillips. 6 of them on the year. He had a dozen home runs all of last year. He's half to that total now. This will be the second out as it is caught in center by Flores. Bruce 1 for 5, and this game comes down to Eugenio Suarez. A 7-run 10th inning for Milwaukee, highlighted by a grand slam by Aaron Hill, which was his 3rd consecutive homer in this game. Five home runs by Milwaukee tonight. Pops it up. And it is caught by the second baseman Rivera. And the Brewers, playing in their first extra inning game of the year, win it big. The final in 10 tonight. The Brewers 13 and the Reds 7. Reds will play the Brewers again tomorrow afternoon on Mother's Day. A win to get them a series victory over this Brewers club. That's a 1:10 game tomorrow afternoon. Post-game show comes up next. 13-7 the final. Milwaukee a winner.